If you're trying to build a portfolio and you're chasing rate as your number one priority, just go directly to the bank.
I think the perception with rooming houses has come from share houses. So people do think that you're getting a lot of people in there that are, mooching off Centrelink.
Underinsurance is the biggest issue that we see. Building costs, labour costs, replacement rates gone through the roof.
You'll spin your wheels, you'll try and get the cheap money rather than getting the money that's actually going to get you, or getting the funding stack that's actually going to get you the deal. If you actually already have a property inside of a self-managed super fund and you have a loan on that property.
When you are doing the same deal type and you're dealing with the same client type over and over again, your ability to get the options and the strategies to the client in a refined, fast manner.
No longer is a property manager just a rent collector for you.
For heaven's sake, if it's with one of the major banks, please get in touch with me. I actually helped a client that was on 10.74% get their loans down to about the 7.1% mark. That's almost a 4% saving. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Finance This, Property That. Today, I want to talk a little bit about why we don't do pre-approvals and why in some cases they're not needed. So I want to go through what a pre-approval is, what some of the, look at what it is, why sometimes they're not even worth the piece of paper they're written on, and talk to you a little bit about what we do differently in order to ensure that when you do find your property, it's smooth, efficient, and we get the approvals done on time. Cool. Let's get into it. So I know that in some businesses, depending on your niche, a pre-approval is great. However, a pre-approval for pre-approval's sake doesn't help anyone. What I mean by that is sometimes a pre-approval is not even worth the piece of paper they're written on. So a pre-approval is just a conditional approval subject to all these conditions that you must meet before it goes to formal approval. Now, there are some lenders that don't even fully assess a pre-approval. Why is that bad, you might say? Well, they haven't checked the income. They haven't checked anything in the background, conduct or anything like that, in order to say, yep, we've checked that off. We've actually, someone credit has actually gone. It's already done. It's mainly done via computer. So a broker can put all the parameters in, not verify anything, submit a pre-approval and go, oh, here's your pre-approval. Go find it. Now, this is why sometimes they're not worth the piece of paper they're written on, because if it's not fully assessed, then this is what happens. Broker goes and gives all the documents to the lender, because we've now unlocked the application, we've got the contract of sale, put it all in. In the meantime, the income's changed, the job's changed, you haven't accounted for a certain income. The valuation that gets done potentially knocks the security out. So the property doesn't even meet the security policy. Then all of a sudden, your pre-approval is not even an approval because it got declined. Why did you even waste a credit check? Because that's what you've done. Just wasted a credit check. And I hate doing that. I don't submit applications because when we don't need to. There are some cases when we do, and I'll talk to you about that later. So pre-approvals do have their space, but sometimes if you don't need one, you can do a pre-approval without even submitting an application to a point. So how do we do it, and what do we do differently? Well, if you listen to any of my podcasts, which I hope you have, been doing 75 episodes, this will probably be episode 77 or 78 or something like that. We do all the research up front. Before we even submit any applications, we're completing a full strategic financial diagnostic on you and your current situation. So what does that even mean? We look at your current structure, we pre-check your income with full servicing, we run all the policy scenarios. If we need to, we check, we talk about, hey, where are you looking to buy, what some of these postcodes, check the postcodes to see whether they're restricted and match the policies to the lender that you need. And then when we present the strategy, we're presenting the strategy to the actual goal, not who's going to give you the most borrowing capacity and then it fails anyway. And then we're back to square one and we're submitting 2 applications, hitting your credit file twice for no reason. So getting the information up front, doing all the research up front will actually give you the confidence. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. If you are self-employed, so there was a client that we needed a pre-approval for, actively looking, they were self-employed with a complex lending structure that we needed to get approval on with credit. Now, luckily, I was actually doing a restructure of their existing lending. So what I did do is I tacked on the pre-approval, because then I knew even if that approval ran out, even if it passed the 90 days, because that's another thing, pre-approvals only last for 90 days, then you got to do the app again, you got to get everything again. I knew that the income was still relevant because we weren't going to be outside of the time to use that particular year's financials. So lo and behold, the day after the 90 days, after it expired, they'd signed a contract. However, because we already had an application in there, I already knew what their borrowing capacity was, everything. I could just go, yep, just go sign that contract. They went to auction. So they won it at auction and I said, yep, that's going to get approved. We already know the suburb. We already ran the testing on it. We had to get a valuation done, which was fine. We ordered that, got it done, got it approved, moved it along, cloned the application, just changed a few things. That's an example where we have done one. It's expired, but we already knew. So that's one of the rare times I've actually done a pre-approval. I think I've done maybe 2 in the last financial year. Where we have done a pre-approval, one of my clients actually said they got a pre-approval from their broker, went to a bank. That bank I know does not do fully assessed pre-approvals. They said, yep, it's done. And I said, did you ever hand over any finance documents as in to verify your income because you're self-employed? And they said, no. And I said, well, looking at your financials that you give me, that pre-approval is null and void because it won't work with that lender. Because once we did the diagnostic, they weren't even servicing with that lender. And to make things worse, where they were looking to buy, that particular lender had a restriction on the postcode and they could only lend up to 70%. They only had enough deposit for an 80% lend. So again, the power of doing the research is, I can't stress that enough. And also, when we do the research, I forgot to say, we also check your credit file. Again, check the credit file, check the credit score, check all the conduct on that credit file, check any directorships that you may have, prepare you for what the lender's actually going to ask for or see, because they see what we see most of the time. And then we can align it. Like if someone's got a low credit score, I can't go to certain lenders. If someone's got a high credit score, it opens up the array of lenders. So when we're making the strategy, it's very simple and easy for us to go, yep, here's 3 lenders. If this lender doesn't accept it, we've got this lender, this lender. So that's us doing a job. That is a strategic finance diagnostic. And that provides you with certainty and it stops you from making the wrong best move, which ultimately will stunt your growth if you're trying to build a property portfolio out. Anyway, thanks for listening. As always, the information on this podcast is very general in nature, doesn't take into consideration your personal circumstances. You want to know more, come and see me. I'm easy to find at Dion Finance Specialist on Instagram, Dion Fernandez on LinkedIn. Financespropertythat.com.au is the website for this podcast. We're on all networks, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. But until the next episode, see you then.